So we're going to start with something very simple, which is just your introduction, your name and school that you went to, what you studied, and what you do now. Just basics.
So my name's Adam Chan. Like Shreya, I went to Fairleigh Dickinson University, Division One school in New Jersey. After that, I was the assistant coach at Stetson University before becoming a graduate assistant at Columbus State, where we ended up winning a national championship. Now I work at British Airways back in England.
That's a very, very different field, and I'm pretty sure that you imagined yourself being part of.
Yeah, I always saw myself always with a tennis racket in my hand. I never thought of a career without it. If I knew from a young age I was not going to be pro, it's pretty obvious. You either have or you don't. But I took the college platform to gain as much knowledge as I could about the game to become the best coach that I could be. I think I was, somewhat successful in winning a championship at Columbus State. But once I stopped playing, had a surgery on my shoulder, had a slip disc. I thought I should probably thinking of an early retirement, which was tough. It took about a year to sort of acclimate and get around, but I wouldn't change who I am or the path I've had to be ultimately who I am for it.
So let's go back to the time at FDU. Um,
Mhm.
What did you study there, and what were some key factors that you were considering before you committed to a school? What were some of the key factors you were considering that made you commit to FTU?
I knew that I wanted to be a coach, and I wanted to take this as a platform to develop my skills in coaching, communicating, understanding the mind, and so on. And so my initial want of a degree or a major was sports psychology. They didn't have that at Fairleigh, but they had sports administration. So I came into that wanting to understand the industry that I was going to be working in. And so that that determined what I took.
Okay. And why FTU?
I think that the coach who initially recruited me, Jonathan Buckman, had a good grasp of the game, had a good philosophy as a coach. Um, Having been on the phone with fellow Brit Jake beforehand, just felt like the right place to be for my next steps in tennis at that young age.
Um, Take me back one more step. So before you actually came to the US,
Mm-hmm.
went through your mind to decide, like, what was the decision making factor that said, okay, fine, college tennis is the path for me?
So I actually spent that summer playing in Spain with a friend of mine, and it was an old friend, Alex Sabinski, a former UK number four. Um, and I went out with this coach in Spain, and I was just playing with some friends. Really enjoyed being around top level talent, traveling, playing, competing. And I knew that if I couldn't do it pro, the next best thing and best alternative would be college tennis. So I had to turn around an application and apply to the States very quickly. And it worked out.
All right. Um, what were your expectations coming into college, both academically and aesthetically?
Um, I think the expectation was that the tennis was going to be full on. You were going to be pushed outside of your comfort zone more often than not. Uh, and you would have to balance your work with study um, quite a lot. It was going to take a lot of learning about myself to be, a better student athlete.
And did that actually happen? Your expectations
Yeah,
were met?
yeah, yeah. Um, I I think it did as you know, Shreya, our coach left quite early on, and so there was a lot of change happening within the organization and within the team. Um, so being thrown into the deep end, I don't, I don't think anyone could have predicted and had set the expectation that that amount of dynamic movement was going to happen. Um, but it was still fun nevertheless.
That was your first year, right? The year that you came in,
Yeah,
that was the year that Jonathan resigned.
yeah. 2 weeks in, I remember.
He just saw you and he was like, I'm out.
Yeah, I don't know who this Brit is, but he's not good enough, and bad enough. Gonna go home.
Do you think college tennis helped enhance your college experience?
100%. Um, it's through the 4 years of being an undergrad and then the masters and work and so on. It's helped me develop myself to maximize on those a bit opportunities at university. It made me more goal oriented. It helped me with my work life balance, sort of being disciplined. And if I didn't have those characteristics, it's very easy to stay in bed, very easy to do nothing, very easy to not be ambitious. But being put in those positions where you have the opportunity to be better, I think, yeah, it definitely allowed me to maximize on what America had to offer me.
And what would you think were the biggest differences? Like when you compare your junior's career, how your training went as compared to what you experienced in college?
So in college, it's very much about the team. Everything you do is for the betterment of those around you. You have to think outside of just your little bubble. Um, on the junior circuit and the pro circuit, is you and your team. It's just what I say team, but primarily it was all about you. You have the spotlight. You go out to play. You win. You lose, and you give thanks to those if you have to give a speech at the end if you win. But every single day in America, it's always about the guys next to you in the locker room. It's always about how can I make them better as well as myself. And I think that's a good sort of dynamic to have because it makes people more conscious, not just in sports, but of those around them off the court as well.
So I completely agree with that. And sometimes, I feel that just because having been to college tennis gave me similar experiences as that, it kind of set me up for life in such a way where I started understanding that it's not a lonely road. It's not something that
Hmm.
I'll be living just by myself. And basically, I just got a better idea of what it would be like to have some good support around me, positive people around me, and me as well. Like, feeling the same way about the people around me. That how we can, as a community, if not as tennis teammates, but as a community,
Exactly.
how we can keep growing, how
Yeah.
we can keep making each other's lives easier.
Yeah. And it's always about just trying to be a little bit better every day. 1%. Can you get better 1% every single day? It doesn't necessarily need to be just on court. It could just be with simple things, how to be a better friend, how to be a better student. And you take that from sports and apply it to everything.
All right, just talking a little bit about the academic side of things.
Hmm.
Now, of course, England has a much different academic educational system. So, if you were to compare the two educational systems, which one do you think was better suited for you, and which one do you think you gain more out of?
So I can only speak for the English high school experience. I didn't do the university route at all. But I would say, as a whole, within the UK, the culture is very much based around academics. You need to be academically driven. And then after that, once you've done that, you do sports. In the US, the sports will take a priority if you are top profile athlete. Um, whereby, and I don't say that they put education on the back seat. An example would be if you have an exam or a class or anything that intervenes with sports, you will be given an exemption to play for your school, and then you would have to take that up afterwards. It doesn't mean that it's any less important. They just don't want you to miss out on that opportunity within sports. But in the UK, I don't think that that would ever happen. The education primarily is the forefront of absolutely everything.
That's pretty much what they brought to India and left it at that. Um, how rigorous was your academic load each semester when you were in college?
I think starting off it was tough, but slowly through every semester, you understand what you need to do and how to balance it. Some people do it better than most right off the bat. They're super disciplined. They get their 4.0s, they get their pens, as you know, and they do that every single semester. For me, I was a bit of a late bloomer. Took some time to develop. Got my 4.0 pen, I think, in my senior or the late junior semester. Um, but yeah, just understanding what needs to happen and how you do need to set aside time to balance everything is important.
And how important do you think it becomes to learn how to manage your time when you're in college, especially as a student athlete, because you've got like a million things going on?
I think it's super, super important. I think it's one of the skills that you have to master very early on, because it's a universal one. Let's say you after your collegiate career, you go into either sports or you work. That is a skill that you will need for both aspects to live a disciplined and successful life. And so, as I said earlier, to excel and grasp as many opportunities as you have in college, that skill needs to be mastered. Take that into sports or work. You'll be more successful if you have that skill honed.
But what if you had to give advice to someone about it? How do you think, they can start consciously working on it before they get to college so it's a much easier transition?
Develop sort of good skills and good habits early on. Try and take note of everything and be sort of pedantic about it, write things down, plan it out. Obviously, you can, I mean, like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That plan goes out the window. But if you have a plan and you have good habits, when stress comes, and you have to make do, when that starts to subside, that stress starts to subside, you can then fall back onto those good habits, and you're not just sort of, you're not just panicking every single day. Because I had this chat with Marta before, when she struggled. You're either swimming or you're sinking. If you can build good habits when you're starting to sink, you can at least start to tread water as much as you can. Those habits will bring you back to normality because it gives you routine and habit.
All right. During your bachelor's degree, and of course, you can, once you're done with the bachelor's part, feel free to talk about your master's as well. How do you think FDU supported you with your tennis and your studies and networking and anything else that you had going on at that time?
So long ago, you're making me really dig up some memories. I think as a student athlete, fairly, it put opportunities out there for you. It didn't hand you them on a silver platter. You had to go out there and get it. But you had a lot of the sports faculty team, and the athletic department who are willing to put in that time to help you develop as a person. If you were really interested in the sort of student athlete community, that was the SAC, Student Athlete Advisory Committee. I was part of that, and an e-board member. and they don't shy away from having people on any sort of forum to voice their opinions or to network. If anything, being an athlete, I think it gives you a form of leverage or a foot in the door because you have an opportunity to speak about, given that America is so rich um, on its sport. So yeah, I think it was quite good. And without that, I wouldn't have been able to get my master's because all of that was just through networking, going down to Florida, working there, and using my relationship with Coach Noble to then get to Columbus State through his network. So all of it is just done through off off of hard work and networking that's provided from your undergraduate degree.
Yeah, something that doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. Just even understanding that these opportunities do exist and you can make use of it. Some of my kids, and even me back, at least in my first year when I was in college, I was super shy. I didn't know who to approach to, what I would talk to them about. I knew I wanted to do an internship, get my foot in the door, just, start getting some
Mhm.
kind of experience in the field that I wanted to just learn a little bit more about. But just because I was shy, I did not take that first step. And I have some kids like that right now who, before they get there, they ask me. And even though it's not like a regret that I have, that I should have started earlier, but it's just something that I learned over time that nobody would have judged me back then. If I made an effort, nobody would have judged me.
Yeah, I think it's sort of double pronged. You have to pick the right organization through your recruitment campaign, um, who will be supportive. There are programs out there with less friendly individuals, but in that same breath, there are teams with very friendly individuals who will take you under their wing, who will develop you on and off the court. But just being yourself. Obviously, for college, it's a lot of kids' first time traveling out and being alone. It is quite scary. But the moment that you accept that you are in an uncomfortable position, you will develop more, you will grow, and you will be more than you were originally. But it takes a lot of courage to step outside of that comfort zone, recognize that you need to grow, and recognize that um, it's not, you're not familiar with the environment.
How well do you think university prepared you for the career that you got into after?
Um, So I think me sitting down and hitting forehands cross court for hours on end has really helped me learn to sit down and type on a computer. No, I mean it's the skill, obviously the hard skills of playing tennis, not so much, but through all of the trials and tribulations that you learn that you have to encounter in college has made me very resilient. Having to pick myself back up from injuries has made me understand how coachable I need to be because I had to relearn absolutely everything. Tennis players have to be egotistical because you're playing out there by yourself. You have to be confident, borderline cocky, depending on who you are. Um, but you have to be a confident person to go out there and compete as an individual. Moving into corporate, you can't do that. but you can be coachable. You can learn. Um, and transfer those skills that you learned from college. Like you come into a new work, a new team, new job, new responsibilities, and you can take that on the chin if you're resilient, and you can excel with it if you're coachable, because you're willing to learn, you're willing to put in the time. I think those are two traits. If you want to change program, if we'll go to a new program, being coachable, learning the new philosophies from the new coach, the new team dynamics from your team and all of those things. Very, very transferable skills, in my opinion.
So you mentioned that you coached a couple of schools for Stetson, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
and then, Columbus State. Both those places you went to further your the aspirations that you had initially that you want to get into coaching. So it definitely must have been a great stepping stone. But unfortunately, after your injury, you had to, I'm sure, think about alternatives or think about a route that you probably would not have thought of, at least to get into this early in your life. So,
yeah.
what made you get into what you're currently doing? Um, how did you get there?
So in, I think it was what, 2020, 2021, I can't remember, COVID. Um, it was around that year where I had to decide what I was going to do because it was either stay in America for the foreseeable future while COVID was going on or come back home. So COVID sort of played my hand for me, took me home. Uh, in the UK was coaching, then got injured, and from, like you said, from that point, didn't really know what I was going to do. So I made a LinkedIn account, um, and from LinkedIn, just sort of had agencies approach me, being a former athlete, and basically headhunted me into a couple jobs, um, and from there, just sort of paved a way for me to be at British Airways currently.
I'm sure it wasn't an easy transition, like from a very, very active job to probably somewhat of a desk job right now.
Yeah,
How well prepared do you think, like sports administration or college in general, made you for this?
I think that if you go, you should go into the mindset of anything. And it's one thing that I didn't do when I was an undergrad is take everything with the grain of I can get something out of this. Like I said, tennis players need to be confident and egotistical because they're competing by themselves, but that should only be on the court. I think I did a bad job of taking that off the court at times. Um, University offers you an opportunity to learn every step of the way. And if you take that, you will be a very well-rounded person. Like I only made a LinkedIn account um, when I was back in the UK after I had graduated, but there were kids during college who took the advice, who developed their LinkedIn and networked through that and had developed a better portfolio. They were interning during college, and they set themselves up to be successful earlier on. So university will provide that platform. You need to see that.
Tell me one of your most memorable experiences from college. Make sure it's appropriate.
One of my, I think it will be an off-court one, and my roommates, not roommates, but well, they were roommates at the time. We were so close as a group, and we still talk to this day, actually. So many years on, and it's quite hard, obviously, because you live in America, they live in America, I live in the UK now. A lot of plans to sort of meet up with each other, but staying up in the night playing games and just laughing, so much laughter and joy, but just being around good people and having friends. To the point where our neighbors put in a noise complaint because they thought we were throwing a party, but we were literally just laughing and having so much fun. Lots of those nights um, throughout my years in college. So I think that's a good memory to have. That's appropriate, at least.
Yes. All right, we're getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What would your advice be for high school students who were preparing to get to college, or if they were a little confused about which path to take, if they should go to college or if they should consider trying to play professional?
I think that I think the rules have changed. So before, when you and I went, there was a lot about amateurism. and that you can't go pro. Can't, or if you do, you can't give up any money. I think it's changed a little bit now with the NIL deals going on. So there's certain frames in mind that I would have that would not be applicable. But one that is that college will develop you and put you through your strides, develop you on and off the court, and you get a degree out of it. If you go pro, you have to sort of fund everything yourself. I think college tennis provides a platform for you to experience that at a very high level early on with individuals. And then you can develop your tennis to go on to tour. There are a lot of kids. Look at Christopher Eubanks just now. He made what the semis or the quarters. You've got Ben Shelton, who won the national championship of Florida, and now he's on tour. Who else is? I mean, John Isner, a lot of Americans. Cam Norrie, he played at TCU, and now he's England's best player. Ryan Peniston, another kid, he went to Memphis. I could list you not thousands, but a lot of kids who've done really well in college, and that's transferred into professional tennis. So it is an opportunity. Go out there, take it, go jump into the deep end. Don't waste any time, and you will have a successful career on and off the court. Oh no, don't be. Just saying that there are so many different avenues for you to gain support when you're having doubts. Obviously, you have your immediate team, you have your roommate that you'll be paired with, your coach. There are various amounts of mentorship schemes where senior student athletes will take their younger student athletes from different teams under their wing to help them and support them. Obviously your coach is there as well because your coach has invested his money, his scholarship into you. He's going to want you to succeed. So finding and having those conversations will be that you just have to step out your comfort zone and ask for help, which obviously is easier said than done. But never think that there are people out there who are against you. Everyone will be there to watch you succeed.
That's very true. What are some necessary skills that you think one needs to develop to do well in their field? So for you, when you were thinking about getting into coaching, what did you feel like you had to work on while you were in college to be able to do well as a coach?
I think a universal one is being coachable. You were any student athlete coming in, every kid is the best at in their local area. You're now going to a team where everyone else was the best in their area. And so you think your way is the best way. Your way of playing is better than someone else's. You play your challenge matches and you can get so caught up in the competition of it that you forget that you're a team. Be coachable, take everything in stride, learn from it, be better. And then after that, you can develop yourself. It's almost like leaving your ego at the door very earlier. I said you need to be egotistical, but that's when you compete every day in practice. Be coachable, learn from your teammates. Everyone has something to teach you. Some will teach you more than others, obviously, and some people may teach you some things that are a bit more applicable, but there is an opportunity to learn everywhere. So being coachable, humbling yourself, and taking the opportunity in stride.
If you were starting college again, do you think you'd do anything differently?
Probably a bit more rehab so that I didn't have to have surgery. I think that's probably up there. I would also think about I would want to bring the amount of maturity that I have now after college into college so I could be more successful. Uh, Having said that, is double pronged because I wouldn't be who I am now if I wouldn't didn't make those mistakes before. So could I have been even better if I was better then? Yeah, but I wouldn't be who I am without it.
That's very true.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
a
Last question.
yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Were you done?
No, no, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to ask you about um, college in the US is very, very international, right? There are people from so many countries and so many cultures and all of that. So, how did it feel to be part of that?
It felt good to be part of a sort of social stirring pot, as it were, where I have my values and my beliefs, and I can go and try and find other people who agree with it or challenge it, but not in a negative way. And you learn about yourself and what you want in life because you either figure out, I want to hang out with people with this belief or this mindset, or that I want it to be the same, or, I want it to be completely different. You have this opportunity to learn. I think diversity within even the workplace is so important. You don't want to be stuck in this little echo chamber of everyone who says the same thing. You go out there and expand. You learn so much different cultures, ideas, beliefs, ways of thinking, as I've said. So being able to find that, express that is very important.
That was again something in India, in the UK, I'm sure. I mean, even if you don't spend as much time with foreigners or with people from other countries, you're at least coming in contact with them every now and then. In India,
Yeah,
that didn't happen. So for me, it was like a huge eye opener. I loved every bit of it,
yeah,
but it took some time getting used to.
yeah. I bet it's yeah. I mean, as you know, I went to India recently for work, and it was eye opening how everything sort of is operated over there, and how very different it could be in collegiate sports.
Well, you had a great experience here, right?
Yeah, it was great. A lot, a lot to learn. A lot of things I didn't know about before, now I do, and I'm a better person for it.
Your body doesn't totally agree with it, I'm sure.
Next time, I'm gonna win. India one, Adam zero. I'm gonna level the field next time.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think that collegiate sports is an absolute must for those who have the opportunity to do so. It's you get to travel America, experience things, hang around, find new friends, explore yourself, and play good quality tennis. You have an opportunity to play for a championship at certain places, a national championship at others. And I think if you want to develop, a strong mindset to take on and off the court, it will allow you to do so. It will give you a platform to develop. Um, and I think there's not many better to do so than Shreya, who's experienced it, been successful on court, now doing so off court. I would put trust in her hands for any potential student athlete.
That's amazing. Thank you.
No worries.
One thing I should have asked you earlier, what did you major in what did you do in your master's? Your,
My master's was servant leadership, a master's of science in servant leadership. Um,
so I say that
Again, it was a
master's of science in?
servant leadership. Um, yeah, just learning about how to be a better coach, different coaching styles, and all of those things.
How did you hear of this major? I mean, leadership, I understand. I think that's a little common as well.
It was one of the topics within, like, within business that allowed me to develop the skill sets that I wanted for sports. So read it, liked it enough, gave it a go. Here I am.
That's great.